The desert sun burned fiercely over the quiet village where Adam, Elias, and Micah lived. The golden sand stretched endlessly, but the air was thick with fear. Just hours ago, masked men had stormed their homes, dragging the boys into the desert. Now, they were tied tightly to a large, rusty oil drum in the middle of a barren clearing. The ropes bit into their wrists and ankles, making every movement painful. Adam's heart thumped wildly in his chest. He looked at Elias, who tried to stay calm but could not hide the shaking of his shoulders, and at Micah, whose eyes were wide with fear. "Stay strong," Adam whispered, his voice cracking. "We'll get through this." The desert wind swept around them, carrying the sound of distant crows, and each rustle in the sand made them jump. The leader of the masked men stepped forward. His face was hidden behind a dark mask, but his eyes burned with cruelty. In his hands was a gun, its metal shining in the fading sunlight. "Say your last prayers," he hissed, and his men laughed, echoing across the desert like chilling whispers. Elias swallowed hard and closed his eyes. He remembered the small church they had once sneaked into, the songs they had sung quietly, and the prayers whispered in the night. "Jesus," he murmured softly, almost too quiet to hear. "Please help us." The leader raised his gun and pulled the trigger, but the gun clicked without firing. A tense silence fell. The men cursed and pounded the gun against the oil drum, trying to make it work, but it refused. Adam and Micah exchanged shocked glances. Could this be a chance? Somehow, a small spark of hope lit in their hearts. Then, suddenly, the desert wind swirled around them violently, blowing sand into the men's faces. They coughed and staggered, struggling to keep their balance. In that instant, Adam felt a strange warmth in his chest, like a hidden hand was holding him, giving him courage. He gripped Elias's and Micah's hands, and they all felt it, the unexplainable power of hope rising within them. A low rumble shook the ground beneath them. The oil drum wobbled, throwing the masked men off balance. The boys strained against their ropes, tiny movements giving them just enough space to shift. Micah's voice quivered, but he called out, "We can do this." The fear in their hearts was mixed with something new, faith that they might survive. The men regained control and shouted angrily, guns ready again. Every second stretched longer, every heartbeat like a drum of terror. Adam closed his eyes and prayed, not just with words, but with all his heart, a desperate plea for life, for safety, for a miracle. And deep inside, a quiet, powerful force began to move, unseen, unstoppable, ready to save them. The desert night fell fast, and the temperature dropped sharply. The three boys, Adam, Elias, and Micah, were still tied to the oil drum, their bodies stiff from pain, their minds racing with fear. The masked men sat around a small fire, their shadows flickering across the sand. Every crackle of the fire made the boys flinch. The men whispered to each other, plotting what they would do next. Adam's eyes darted around, searching for anything, any tiny opening, but the desert stretched endlessly. "We have to hold on," he whispered to Elias and Micah. "No matter what happens, we stay strong. Jesus is with us." His words gave a small flicker of hope, and both boys nodded, holding onto his strength like a lifeline. Suddenly, the firelight flickered wildly, and a strong gust of wind blew through the clearing. The masked men staggered, shielding their eyes from the swirling sand. One of them cursed, raising his gun again, but the bullets would not fire. No matter how many times they pulled the trigger, the metal remained silent. The boys' hearts leapt. Something unseen was protecting them. Micah's small voice broke through the tension. "Do you think it's really happening?" he asked, trembling. Elias whispered, "I think Jesus is here. I can feel it." Adam squeezed their hands tightly, feeling a warmth spread through his chest, a courage that felt bigger than anything he had ever known. The oil drum began to shift slightly, rolling as if pushed by an invisible hand. The boys struggled against their ropes, and slowly, they gained a little more movement. The masked men shouted, trying to hold the drum in place, but their strength was failing. Each second felt like a lifetime, the danger pressing closer, yet hope growing stronger. Then, something incredible happened. A sudden, bright light erupted across the desert, as if the stars themselves had descended. The masked men shielded their eyes, screaming in panic, and the ropes binding the boys snapped as if cut by invisible scissors. They fell to the sand, free at last, their hearts pounding with disbelief and relief. Adam, Elias, and Micah scrambled to their feet, unsure if they were dreaming. The masked men stumbled backward, blinded and terrified, unable to comprehend what had just happened. The boys ran, hearts racing, but a calmness settled over them too, a knowing that they were not alone, that they had been saved by a force far greater than anything in the desert. As they ran toward the edge of the village, Adam looked back once. The masked men were disoriented, powerless, and the desert seemed to glow around the boys, protecting them with a strange, unexplainable light. Micah whispered, "Jesus really saved us." Elias nodded, tears streaming down his face. "We're alive, because he was with us." The night air was still and cool, carrying with it the scent of freedom. Every heartbeat echoed the miracle they had just lived through. For the first time, the boys felt hope that was stronger than fear, faith that was stronger than danger, and courage that no man, mask, or weapon could ever take away. The desert was silent now, except for the soft crunch of sand under the boys' feet. Adam, Elias, and Micah ran as fast as their legs could carry them, hearts hammering, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. But the fear was not completely gone. The masked men had not disappeared. Somehow, the boys could feel they were still being watched. Every shadow, every ripple in the sand, made their stomachs twist with panic. "Keep moving," Adam whispered, his voice steady despite the terror. "We can't stop until we're safe." Elias nodded, wiping sweat and tears from his face. Micah stumbled, sand slipping beneath his shoes, and Adam grabbed his arm. "I've got you. Don't let go of hope," he said, and the three of them ran again, breathless and desperate. They reached a narrow canyon, its high walls cutting off the horizon and hiding them from view. For a moment, they thought they were safe. But then, a shout echoed from the desert beyond. The masked men had noticed them and were charging after them, guns raised once more. The boys froze, panic striking like a lightning bolt. Micah's knees shook. "We're done for," he whispered. Elias pressed his hands together, eyes closed, praying silently. Adam took a deep breath, remembering the warmth he had felt earlier, the invisible hand that had saved them once before. "Jesus is with us," he said firmly. "He won't leave us now. Trust him." As the men drew closer, the canyon walls seemed to shift. A sudden gust of wind roared through the narrow space, pushing the boys forward while forcing the attackers to stagger and shout. The ground beneath the men's feet seemed to turn soft, like the desert itself was swallowing them. They fell, scrambling, their shouts echoing and fading into the canyon. The boys ran faster, their fear mixing with a strange, powerful sense of courage. The light of the moon bathed the canyon in a silver glow, illuminating the path ahead. Adam looked at Elias and Micah. "We're almost there. Just a little more." Every step felt guided, every heartbeat protected by something greater than themselves. Then, the strangest thing happened. The canyon walls shimmered, as if reflecting not just moonlight, but a radiant energy, pushing the boys forward. The masked men tried to follow, but the path narrowed impossibly, stopping them completely. It was as if the desert itself had become a shield, keeping the boys safe. Finally, they emerged from the canyon onto a flat stretch of land near a small village. Lights twinkled in the distance, and the boys felt hope surge through their bodies. They were tired, bruised, and scared, but they were alive. Micah fell to his knees, sobbing, and Elias joined him. Adam knelt too, raising his hands toward the night sky. "Thank you," he whispered, tears running down his face. "Thank you for saving us." The desert was silent again, but this silence was different. It was no longer filled with fear, it was filled with peace, with the quiet, undeniable proof of a miracle. The boys knew that they had been watched over, protected, and carried through the most dangerous night of their lives. And in that moment, they understood that their faith, even when small and trembling, had the power to move mountains, part seas, and save lives. The boys were close to the village now, but their journey was far from over. Adam, Elias, and Micah ran through the uneven desert ground, their legs trembling from exhaustion. Their breaths came in ragged gasps, and their bodies ached from the ropes and the hours of running. But the fear in their hearts still burned hotter than their fatigue. The masked men had not completely vanished. Somewhere behind them, shadows moved, and the faint sound of footsteps reminded them that danger was still near. "We have to keep going," Adam urged, his voice steady but his chest tight with panic. Elias nodded, tears streaking the dirt on his face, while Micah stumbled repeatedly, sand biting his skin. I can't keep running, Micah gasped. Adam grabbed his arm. Yes, you can. Jesus won't let us fall. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath their feet. A deep rumble echoed across the desert, louder than anything they had heard before. The masked men shouted, trying to stand, but the desert itself seemed alive, moving against them. A massive cloud of sand swirled up, cutting off the attackers' path and forcing them to retreat. The boys could hardly believe their eyes. It was as if the earth itself had risen to protect them. Adam, Elias, and Micah ran faster, their fear mingling with awe. "It's him," Elias whispered, voice trembling. "He's saving us." Micah, though exhausted, felt a strange courage fill him, stronger than anything he had ever known. Each step carried them closer to safety, guided by a force they could neither see nor touch, but could feel in every heartbeat. But just as relief seemed within reach, the desert presented one final test. A narrow ravine appeared ahead, jagged rocks lining its edges. The boys froze. "We have to jump," Adam said, panic and determination mixing in his voice. The distance looked impossible, the fall deadly if they missed. Their legs shook, their hands clammy with sweat. "Jesus, please guide us," Elias whispered, closing his eyes. They counted together, 3, 2, 1, and leapt as one. The wind rushed past their faces, hearts pounding like wild drums, and for a terrifying moment, it felt as though they were falling forever. Then, their feet hit solid ground on the other side. They tumbled, laughed, and cried all at once, the impossible jump completed. The masked men, still struggling behind, could not reach them. Every attempt to follow was blocked by the shifting sands, the canyon walls, and now the ravine. It was clear, they could not catch the boys. Adam, Elias, and Micah lay on the ground, gasping, exhausted, but alive. The first lights of the village shone ahead, warm and inviting. The boys rose slowly, supporting each other, tears of relief streaming down their faces. We made it," Micah whispered, voice barely audible. Elias nodded, holding Adam's hand tightly. "We survived, because he was with us." As they approached the village, the danger melted away behind them. The desert, once threatening and merciless, now felt peaceful, almost sacred. Each step forward was a step into safety, into life, and into the undeniable miracle they had lived through. The boys realized something powerful. Even in the darkest moments, with fear pressing from every side, faith and courage could carry them through, and nothing, not guns, not men, not deserts, could ever take that away. And in the quiet of the desert night, under the watching stars, Adam, Elias, and Micah understood that their lives had been forever touched, guided, and saved by a force far greater than anything they had ever known. Summary: Adam, Elias, and Micah, 3 men living in a desert village in Saudi Arabia, are captured by masked men and tied to a rusty oil drum, facing certain death. Despite the terror, the boys hold on to their faith and pray for help. Miraculously, through unexplainable events, a gun that won't fire, shifting sands, and a guiding light, they escape their captors and survive. Facing one last dangerous obstacle, they leap across a ravine and finally reach safety in their village. The experience transforms them, strengthening their faith, courage, and understanding that even in the darkest moments, they are never truly alone. Their story becomes an inspiring testament to hope, trust, and the power of divine intervention. Moral lesson: this story teaches that faith and hope can carry you through the most impossible situations. Even when everything seems lost, trust in a higher power can bring courage, protection, and miracles. True strength comes not just from physical abilities but from believing, persevering, and staying steadfast in the face of fear. The end.